to see my way with you.
Robin Gibb rose to the pinnacle of music with a sorrowful voice capable of stirring millions of hearts. But behind the dazzling spotlight surrounding the legendary Bee Gees lay a complex psychological darkness that few people ever fully understood.
He's a genius. I mean, Robin is incredible. They don't make people like Robin anymore. Robin, once again, is not a person who would say, oh, I love my brothers, or I'm group hug. You know, none of that stuff.
Only when his twin brother Maurice Gibb was preparing to leave this world did the raw hidden truths about his older brother truly begin to emerge. It was not simply a rivalry over artistic standing or a matter of differing private arrangements. What was the true nature of that reality, powerful enough to leave the one who remained carrying torment for the rest of his life? On November 5th, 1967, Robin Gibb and his fiancée Molly Hullis were aboard the fateful train that derailed at Hither Green, a tragedy that claimed the lives of 49 passengers. He was fortunate to survive, but the psychological shock of witnessing the wreckage left deep after-effects, causing the singer to live with persistent anxiety and unease. With those emotional wounds still far from healed, Robin decided to marry Molly Hullis 1 year later. The burden of family responsibility fell heavily on the shoulders of an 18-year-old young man caught between an exhausting international touring schedule and the constant pressure to create new music in order to maintain the stature of a global star. Those internal pressures soon developed into deep fractures within the band as the group began producing the double album Odessa.
That I won't melt away.
Conflict erupted over the choice of the lead song to be released as the first single. While Robin poured his heart into Lamplight and performed, the lead vocal manager Robert Stigwood and the other members decided to choose First of May, sung by eldest brother Barry.
And you don't ask the time of day.
Feeling that his artistic voice had been pushed to the sidelines, disappointment and wounded pride drove the celebrated singer toward a decisive choice. In March 1969, Robin officially announced his departure from the Bee Gees to begin a solo career. His debut solo single, Saved by the Bell, quickly climbed to number 2 on the British charts, confirming his strength as an independent artist. Still, the isolation behind the curtain and the fierce pressure of competition pushed Robin into a cycle of dependence on stimulants and sedatives as he struggled with relentless insomnia. On the other side of the divide, Maurice Gibb found himself trapped in an impossible position, having to help Barry complete the unfinished Cucumber Castle project, while quietly maintaining his role as an intermediary, trying to prevent the bond between brothers from breaking completely. Looking back on this turbulent period, Maurice spoke candidly about his role. "I was always the one in the middle, trying to keep everything from exploding when those enormous egos began colliding with one another." The 15-month separation gradually came to an end as distance and growing understanding brought the members back together. In late 1970, Robin took the initiative and called Barry and Maurice to discuss a reunion, bringing his period of personal crisis to a close. The group quickly returned to the studio and immediately achieved major success with classic ballads such as Lonely Days and How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, reaffirming the irreplaceable power created by the trio's harmonies. As the second half of the 1970s began, the global music industry underwent a dramatic transformation, and Robin and his brothers quickly seized the opportunity to reshape their style. Under a new production direction, the group shifted its focus toward R&B and disco through a series of landmark albums, including Main Course, Saturday Night Fever, and Spirits Having Flown. During this era, Robin accepted a smaller solo spotlight, allowing Barry's distinctive falsetto to take center stage, while he assumed a foundational role in backing vocals and intricate harmonies. This strategic adjustment transformed the band into a popular culture phenomenon, with record-breaking sales around the world. The upbeat rhythms and unprecedented commercial records temporarily obscured the simmering conflicts among the members. The decline of the musical wave that had carried them to extraordinary heights soon began to create new challenges for their shared career. The succession of upheavals that followed gradually stripped away the protective layers surrounding the deepest hidden tensions in the relationships among the Gibb brothers. Decoding a complex identity. The fierce backlash against dance music in the United States pushed the members' shared career into a difficult and uncertain turning point. Faced with widespread rejection from radio stations and rock audiences, the band members began responding in completely different ways. While Maurice Gibb gradually lost control and descended into severe alcohol dependence as a way of coping with professional pressure, Robin Hugh Gibb responded by burying himself in work with relentless intensity, deliberately retreating into a closed creative space to escape the negative turmoil outside. While career frustrations continued to surround them, a family tragedy struck and delivered a devastating psychological blow to the brothers. On March 10, 1988, their youngest brother Andy died in England at the age of 30 from myocarditis associated with the consequences of prolonged substance misuse. The scale of the loss cast a profound sense of guilt over the entire family because they had been unable to save the life of their youngest brother. That grief did not draw the members closer together. Instead, it created an invisible silence between them. Reflecting on this painful event, Maurice spoke candidly. Andy's death was a knife that went through all of us. But instead of holding one another and crying together, each of us withdrew into a dark corner of the room and consumed our pain in silence. Robin's tendency to withdraw became increasingly visible as the members entered the production of the documentary Keppel Road and the recording sessions for the album This Is Where I Came In. From his position as a comparatively neutral observer across many decades, his twin brother Maurice repeatedly tried to explain the complex psychological forces operating inside Robin. According to the reflections of the person who had been closest to him, the roots of Robin's distance and permanently defensive posture came from a deep internal insecurity. The celebrated singer carried an invisible fear that he would be overshadowed by the enormous presence of his eldest brother Barry, a fear that drove him to seek absolute independence in every note and every lyric. The burden of maintaining harmony within the group always weighed heavily on the shoulders of the twin brother. Maurice once spoke about the pressure of balancing the family relationships. "I was always the man in the middle." Barry and Robin were two planets with enormous gravitational force colliding every day. Robin never wanted to become dependent on anyone. He was always haunted by the thought that if he was not the one singing lead, his presence would become completely meaningless. Alongside their professional conflicts, the twin bond between the two brothers also contained strange contradictions that they themselves acknowledged publicly. Artistic disagreements and clashing egos could place thousands of miles between them, but their physical and emotional connection seemed to persist with remarkable strength. Maurice once confirmed that whenever one of them experienced physical pain or injury, the other could feel similar sensations in his own body. The profoundly complicated relationship between the two gifted artists was abruptly severed by an unexpected medical emergency. On January 8, 2003, Maurice suffered severe abdominal pain at his home and was quickly taken to the emergency department at Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami, Florida. Doctors determined that he had a twisted intestine and required emergency surgery, but a severe drop in blood pressure and sudden cardiac arrest during treatment caused his condition to deteriorate rapidly. On January 12, 2003, his twin brother died at the age of 53, leaving unfinished conversations of reconciliation behind. The sudden death of his twin companion removed the only bridge of reconciliation within the entire family. The severe psychological shock caused by this loss pushed the surviving brother into a prolonged period of loneliness during which fractures in his relationships began to appear more clearly. As the curtain fell, long-guarded, private secrets and serious health crises gradually came into public view. The dark side of marriage. The sudden death of his twin brother plunged Robin Hugh Gibb into the most severe psychological crisis of his life. Losing the companion who had been beside him since the womb left the celebrated singer emotionally shattered. He frequently woke in the middle of the night in panic and broke down crying after dreaming about his deceased brother. From 2003 onward, deep disagreements between Robin and his eldest brother Barry once again erupted over the future of the band's name. While the surviving twin desperately wanted to continue performing under their shared identity as a way of honoring the brother they had lost, Barry firmly refused and favored completely suspending live performances because he could not accept continuing without such a crucial member. This deadlock caused the relationship between the two brothers to become increasingly distant and cold. Alongside professional and family wounds, Robin's private married life also attracted intense public attention because of unconventional arrangements within the relationship. After marrying artist and poet Dwina Murphy, the couple agreed to build an open marriage based on respect for personal freedom without being confined by conventional expectations. Robin's secret 8-year relationship with his Asian housekeeper, Claire Yang, nevertheless created genuine fractures behind the doors of the family residence. The relationship became public when Claire gave birth to a daughter named Snow Robin in 2008, when the singer was 58 years old. The development intensified existing tensions within the family over financial support, separate housing arrangements for Claire and the child, and the eventual distribution of inheritance rights. Seeking escape from the private pressures surrounding him and searching for inner calm, Robin poured all of his remaining passion and creative energy into classical music. He began working with his son, Robin John Gibb, to compose a large-scale choral work titled The Titanic Requiem. The solemn and tragic work came to be regarded as his final major artistic attempt to confront personal loss and reflect on the limits of human life. Throughout the recording process, with a renowned symphony orchestra, the artist continued working with extraordinary intensity, even as serious signs of physical exhaustion became increasingly apparent. On May 20, 2012, Robin died at the age of 62, bringing to a close a journey filled with extraordinary glory and profound turbulence for one of the world's great musical icons. The death of the gifted lead singer left millions of listeners across the world in deep mourning. As the noise surrounding his private life and financial disputes gradually faded with the passing years, the artist's entire life began to be reconsidered more comprehensively by the public and by music historians. The enormous artistic legacy he created with his brothers became the subject of extensive study, revealing more clearly the enduring qualities of a legend. An immortal legacy. Following the solemn funeral held at St. Mary's Church in Thames, Oxfordshire, legal proceedings concerning the management and distribution of Robin Hugh Gibb's vast estate officially began. The estate, estimated to be worth between £26 and £40 million, together with the rights connected to his extensive song catalogue, was confirmed through legal proceedings as passing under the stewardship of his lawful wife Dwina and his adult children. At the same time, a separate financial arrangement was completed to provide housing and living expenses for his young daughter, Snow Robin. In 2014, the family decided to release the posthumous solo studio album, 50 St. Catherine's Drive, bringing together previously unreleased recordings by the celebrated singer. The work carries a deeply nostalgic atmosphere, reflecting the artist's earliest memories of his childhood home on the Isle of Man and his thoughts about family origins. The closing of one musical era opened a new period in which the full rise and fall of the members' history could be reconsidered from a more objective and multidimensional perspective. Through the official HBO documentary, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, and a series of in-depth interviews, eldest brother Barry publicly shared his later reflections on the complicated relationships among the brothers. The sole surviving member acknowledged that their earlier struggles over status had grown from youthful immaturity under the immense pressure of fame and the influence of the commercial management machinery surrounding them. Those later admissions strongly reinforced the assessment Maurice had once shared publicly, portraying Robin as an extraordinarily sensitive soul who used stubbornness and emotional distance as armor around an easily wounded inner self. Modern scholarship and archival work in music history have firmly placed Robin among the most influential songwriters and vocalists of the 20th century. The origins of his fiercely independent identity and the strange spiritual bond between the twin brothers become truly clear only when the earliest pages of their lives are revisited. Their original childhood memories from a small and distant island were the soil in which their natural musical gifts first took root, and where the destiny of this legendary voice began to take shape. The birth of destiny. The roots of Robin Hugh Gibb's musical talent and the complicated psychological forces that shaped his life can all be traced back to a small island in the Irish Sea. On December 22, 1949, in the coastal town of Douglas, on the Isle of Man, Robin was born exactly 35 minutes before his twin brother. That brief difference in time became a symbolic marker throughout their childhood and helped shape the extraordinary spiritual connection between the twins. In later conversations with the media, Maurice recalled that Robin frequently reminded him of his status as the older twin, while also confirming that the two seemed to share a strange sixth sense. One could sometimes develop bruising in a location corresponding to an injury suffered by the other, even when they were far apart. Guided by their father, Hugh Gibb, an experienced band leader, the children in the family were exposed to musical instruments and performance from an early age. In the industrial city of Manchester during the mid-1950s, Robin and his two brothers formed their first childhood group, the Rattlesnakes, performing between film screenings at local cinemas. In 1958, the family decided to make the long sea journey to Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia, in search of new opportunities. Life in this subtropical environment brought the differences between the personalities of the twins born on the same day into sharper focus. While Maurice was outgoing, quickly made friends with children his own age, and taught himself to master several instruments, Robin chose a more withdrawn life, often sitting alone for hours beside a small radio while practicing the distinctive mournful vibrato that would later define his voice. His natural songwriting ability soon became apparent through early experimental recording sessions with festival records in Sydney. Music professionals and producers in Australia quickly recognized the unusual quality of Robin's trembling, emotionally charged voice, describing it as an independent instrument capable of bringing dramatic depth to the family's harmonies. Following their early success in the Australian market, the ambition to prove themselves internationally inspired the members to return to Britain in January 1967. As soon as they arrived in England, the group's demo recordings attracted the attention of talented producer Robert Stigwood, leading quickly to the signing of a long-term exclusive management contract. Robin's career with the band officially entered a path toward global success with the release of the single New York Mining Disaster 1941, which immediately entered respected charts on both sides of the Atlantic. The singer's status reached a brilliant new height when he performed the entire lead vocal on the classic recording Massachusetts, sending the song directly to #1 on the British singles chart and establishing a solid foundation for the band's international reputation. The remarkable commercial success achieved at the very beginning of their career turned Robin into a focal point for both the public and contemporary music critics. As the story of Robin Gibb's life comes to a close, we recognize that behind those trembling high notes that reached deep into the hearts of listeners was a soul constantly longing to be understood, to be loved, and to affirm his own identity. The truth once revealed by his twin brother Maurice does not diminish the brilliance of the Bee Gees. Instead, it allows us to see them as fully human, wounded, uncertain, and vulnerable, while their love for music remained immortal. What about you? Which song performed by Robin left the strongest impression on you? Or which hidden aspect of the relationship among the Gibb brothers has given you the most to think about? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video meaningful and emotionally moving, remember to give it a like, share it with fellow music lovers, and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, so you do not miss the next truthful and deeply explored stories from behind the scenes of music. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again on the journeys of discovery ahead.